maritime situational awareness is dependent on air-based resources, land-based resources, and even space-based systems, of course, GPS most notably. Situational awareness, gaining an accurate understanding of what's happening in the maritime in a security environment is dependent on lots of things. The speed with which you can receive information about potential maritime threats, particular geographical features of the maritime region that we're talking about, whether we're talking about a strait with land either side or big vast open oceans. It's affected by things like the culture, history, particular weather patterns, and particular maritime traffic of different regions. And of course that Asia-Pacific region as a whole is a vast ocean region, but if we look at, for example, the Taiwan Strait, a much narrower strait which separates two strategically important players in the region. It's also about both reactive and proactive measures in gaining maritime situational awareness. It's about trying to predict what might happen in the maritime environment. Increasingly we're hearing a lot of concerns about piracy, about terrorist attacks against oil rigs or oil tankers, hijackings, those sorts of things. So maritime situational awareness, I think, is increasingly acknowledged to be something that has to be both proactive as well as just reactive if you're going to have an accurate understanding of what's happening in the maritime environment. I think the idea of maritime situational awareness has been greatly influenced by the growth of information and communications technology. You know, if you think about 100 years ago, how did boats and naval flotillas gain an understanding of what was happening? You know, you had essentially sailors climbing up masts and looking through telescopes to see what was happening. Obviously, developments in ICT have changed that notably, and as Fitton et al. Have argued, the maritime environment is not immune to the radical ability of modern digital communications and computing to be disruptive. In order to gain the advantages of modern technology, those operating in the maritime must also become aware and develop strategies to handle the inevitable security issues that modern computing systems bring with them. What we've seen, I think, in recent years is an increasing number of cyber attacks being directed specifically against marine and naval communication systems, e-navigation systems, GPS, what are called electronic chart display and information systems, and automatic identification systems. Most vessels have these types of communication systems on board now, and again there's an increasing volume of cyber attacks being directed against them. They're also being documented against fighter jets, against drones, against satellite systems, and as I've said, in order to gain maritime situational awareness, that's increasingly dependent on aerial and space-based capabilities. And more on the civilian side, protecting critical maritime infrastructure is increasingly seen as important port facilities, cargo facilities, and the communication systems that they rely upon. So what I do in the research is look at 4 different countries. I might not have time to go through all of these at the moment. But when you look, I think, at the military strategic documents, the white papers, the government sources in China and the US and Japan and Taiwan, I think we can see a significant convergence between the maritime domain and the cyber domain, and significant connections between the two. So China, to start with, their military strategy is very much based on this idea of anti-access or area denial, which means basically trying to stop foreign navies operating effectively, particularly in the South and East China Seas. Increasingly, they're looking to do that by developing cyber attack capabilities against, again, those maritime situational awareness communications type systems. If navies can't communicate with each other, then they're not able to effectively operate in a particular maritime environment. And this anti-access area denial strategy, which has been quite a long feature of Chinese military strategy, is increasingly based on doing that. The Asian Maritime Transparency Initiative has said that the new facilities being built in places like Woody Island, the Paracels, are already giving China the ability to monitor the South China Sea, and these facilities include things like radar domes, surveillance towers, satellite communications facilities. And again, if you look at recent military strategy documents of China, you can see sustained reference, I think, to the convergence between the cyber domain and the maritime domain in terms of denying, again, adversaries the ability to operate in these particular regions. I'll kind of rush through